We convene, so I hereby call this meeting to order. First order of business is a roll call of commissioners. I call on Commissioner Holt.
Commissioner Anthony. Here. Brown. Here. Connolly.
Here.
Cordner.
Here.
Farrell. Johnson.
Excused.
Johnson.
Here.
Kittredge.
Here.
Knight.
Here.
Lucas.
Here.
Margolis.
Here.
Middleton.
Here.
Moore.
Here.
Myers.
Here.
Parkinson.
Here.
Purcell.
Here.
Ryder Dove.
Here.
Talon.
Present.
Warren.
Here.
Weber.
Here.
Womack.
Here.
Mr. Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you, Commissioner Holt. Next up is a review and approve the minutes from our July meeting in Colorado Springs.
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any concerns or corrections? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Committee reports. First up is our Corporate Affairs Committee, Commissioner Warren.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. This morning I called the meeting of the Corporate Affairs Committee to order at 8:30 a.m. We did have a full committee, including Commissioners Conley, Margolis, Talon, and Weber. Also present was Executive Director Hartley, HR Specialist Garner, Director of Client Services Parrish, and yourself, our Board Chair Myers. First agenda item was the review and approval of the minutes from the Colorado Springs meeting in July. Second, we received an update on the 2015 budget to date as of September 30th, 2015, reflecting expenditures of $3,489,686. Net revenue from operations, $257,706, minus gains and losses from investments of $125,684, for a total net of $132,021 to date. We are projecting year-end revenue at $5,276,548, expenditures of $4,977,860, for a total of $298,639 net revenue from operations. I'll also mention that the Miami conference did exceed projections. We were projecting 600 attendees, and it looks like we'll have in excess of 700 attendees, so we should see net revenue from the Miami conference as well. The next item on the agenda was an update on the review from the Virginia Employment Commission. To date, we did have a hearing in July. Executive Director Hartley did testify. We were told that there would be a decision within 30 days of the hearing. However, we have yet to be notified, and so we are still pending disposition on that matter. Next item on the agenda, we have 3 action items. The first will be, we have an update on the assessment report project. So last year, we allocated up to $130,000. We did enter into a contract with the vendor Surge. The project has been worked since that time and continues, and it includes both critical phases of the development. It's a web-based data collection and reporting tool with the opportunity for further enhancement to support the clients and the commission. To date, $124,500 has been spent. What's pending, training, staff development, as well as further testing which remains to be completed, projected by the end of this year. The next item on the agenda, we do have some action items relative to requests for funding for our major projects fund in 2016. The first will be a request for funding for website development. Previously, we approved up to $75,000 to support the development of an RFP and evaluation platform to solicit and review proposals for the creation of a new corporate website. It's projected to cost approximately $47,000, which has been approved for this year in the Major Projects Fund. However, after consultation with the prospective RFP developer, a range for the site development was created from $150,000 to $275,000 for the actual creation of the website. And so the Corporate Affairs Committee would like to recommend and move to the full commission consideration for approval of up to $200,000 for site development and implementation of our website in the 2006 Major Project Fund.
I have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Commissioner Warren.
Next item on the agenda, request for funding for the Major Projects Fund for the Standards Research Project. Over the past several years, CALEA has worked to create stronger standards that are backed by research while also delivering an enhanced client service with the sensitivity to small agencies seeking to participate in accreditation. Our current Law Enforcement Standards Review Committee, led by Commissioner Womack, and it also includes Corporate Affairs Committee member Commissioner Conley, have recognized and noted during their work the need for academically researched content for the standards. We do have a proposal. It's a two-part proposal. The first part is to contract with the Daigle Law Group to prepare sample legally defensible policies related to each law enforcement standard at a cost of $115,000. Also, which will be addressed in subsequent budget years, ongoing maintenance at a charge of $38,000 to ensure that they continuously complement best practice and legal findings. But again, that will be transitioned into the fiscal year 2017 budget. The second part of the proposal is to use the Police Foundation to conduct research to up to 10 standards at an annual cost of $90,000. So two-part request. On behalf of the Corporate Affairs Committee, I would like to make a motion to the full commission for consideration and allocation of $115,000 to support legally defensible sample policy through the Daigle Group, and $90,000 for the Police Foundation for standards-related research that will come out of 2016 Major Project Fund.
I have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Commissioner Warren.
Next item on the agenda will be request for funding for accreditation manager online training. Over the past several years, there's been much more interest expressed in the development of an online training for accreditation managers. CALEA and APCO have worked collectively in the past for approximately 5 years in the delivery of an online accreditation manager training for communication agencies. In consultation with APCO, it's being proposed that curriculum development and delivery has both been expressed, and the interest in expanding this program to include law enforcement, training academies, and campus security agencies. What we are proposing is the establishment of a budget for a dedicated CALEA curriculum developer on an ongoing status, which includes some technical assistance costs totaling approximately $50,000, which will be split evenly between the two organizations for the development specifically of an online curriculum for accreditation managers. And so on behalf of the Corporate Affairs Committee, I would like to make a motion to the full commission for consideration of an allocation of $25,000 from the 2016 Major Project Fund for online training.
I have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Motion carries. Commissioner Warren.
The next item was more of an FYI item regarding funding to support the assessment report training. We do project a cost of about approximately $15,000, but it will be included into the 2016 operating budget for the information management and reporting system. The next item on the agenda will be for consideration the approval of the proposed 2016 operating budget. I'll just hit some highlights. What we are projecting in revenue is $5,484,275 versus expenditures of $5,420,876 for net revenue from operations of $63,399. There were some revisions from what was initially proposed preliminarily at the July meeting. And these changes increased the original proposed budget total revenue by $39,000 and increased expenditures by $88,913. These changes included, after review of potential assessments in September, staff found 3 additional assessments to be administered in 2016, and the on-site fees revenue center was increased by $14,000 to show the increase of total assessments projected. After further analysis of the 2016 CALEA conference locations and the total number of client agencies potentially to be reviewed for accreditation during the budget year, staff increased revenue by $25,000 for conference fees. Salaries, part-time, were adjusted to include additional compliance services member hired, and this line item was increased by $21,220. Also, after the budget was presented at the July CALEA conference, staff received information on the 2016 insurance premiums with United Healthcare. The rates were 2% lower than originally projected. This new rate decreased payroll and fringe benefits, the cost center, by $8,822. And then the commission expense line item was adjusted to include the additional host seed money approved by the commission at the July 2015 CALEA conference. The net effect was an increase of $30,000 for this line item. This budget reflects a 3% increase in revenue as compared to 2015, as well as this budget reflects no new position requests with the staff salary increase of 3% of the base of the current salaries, and furthermore, part-time salary increased 17% as compared to prior year. However, the overall cost center is held to only a 5% increase. And so with that, on behalf of the Corporate Affairs Committee, I would like to propose, make a motion to the full commission for consideration approval of the 2016 operating budget.
It's been moved to adopt the proposed 16 budget. Can I have a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion on the 2016 proposed budget? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Motion carries. Commissioner Warren.
Yes, and one last item. And this was more information as we transition, the transition of assessment services. It's just noted that the annual compliance reviews by part-time staff, development of a web-based assessment reporting tool with the self-service tools, transition to a 4-year assessment term for awarded agencies, and adjustments to on-site activities by assessors for initial and reaccreditation reviews. As a result, CALEA Administrative Services staff will be coordinating addendum contracts with those agencies transitioning during the November 2015 cycle. And with that, Mr. Chair, there was no further business to come before the Corporate Affairs Committee, and we concluded, we adjourned at 9:34 a.m.
Thank you. For the benefit of our audience, while there are some large numbers out there in that major projects fund, I think it's important for you to know that fiscally, CALEA is probably as healthy and strong as it's been in its entire history. And I credit much of the work of that to the great stewardship of the Corporate Affairs Committee that you just heard reporting out, as well as great leadership by our Executive Director. The expenditures approved just now reflect our commitment that with a strong fiscal health comes significant investment back into what will benefit our client agencies the most. These projects that have been approved are all designed to bring greater value to our clients. And I think that speaks highly of the stewardship of both the Corporate Affairs Committee and our director and his staff. So thank you to all for the hard work you do in running the business of CALEA. Next up is our Outreach Committee, Commissioner Parkinson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Outreach Committee met this morning at 8 o'clock in the Hibiscus Room. There was full attendance of the commissioners, Moore, Lucas, Holt, and myself. We were assisted by CALEA staff, Brown and Goddard. The first order of business was to approve the minutes of the July Colorado Springs meeting, which we did, and the October phone conference, which we did. Following that, commencing at about 10 after 8, we received presentations from the following cities interested in hosting the 2018 CALEA conference. We heard from Frisco, Texas, Winston-Salem, North Carolina, Grand Rapids, Michigan, and Chattanooga, Tennessee, and Savannah, Georgia. As a result of the discussion following the presentations, the Outreach Committee recommends, and I move, that we recommend to the full commission the following conference site selections for 2018, pending contract approvals and site visits. For March 2018, the primary selection is Frisco, Texas. The alternate selection is Winston-Salem, North Carolina. For July 2018, the primary selection was Grand Rapids, Michigan. The alternate selection was Winston-Salem, North Carolina. And for November 2018, the primary selection was Savannah, Georgia. The alternate selection, Chattanooga, Tennessee.
I have a motion for the 2018 conference locations. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Motion carries. Commissioner Parkinson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. There were no other matters coming before the committee, and we adjourned at 11:30.
Thank you.
concludes the business.
Next up, we have the Standards Review and Interpretation Committee, and they are chaired by Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
The SRIC committee met this morning at 8:30 a.m. in the Monroe Room. We were assisted by Accreditation Manager Karen Shepard and Regional Program Manager Randy Scott. A number of items to be brought to the commission for action. The first item of business before the commission was, or before the committee, was the review and approval of the minutes of the 2015 Colorado Springs meeting. Those minutes were approved. The next item before the committee was a proposed revision to Communication Standard 4.3.8 relating to psychological examinations. This is a compliance level change from other than mandatory for A-size agencies to mandatory for all agencies. The committee recommends the approval of this proposed revision, and I move to the full commission for the adoption of that revised standard 4.3.8.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The next item before the committee was a proposed revision to Communication Standard 6.8.7 relating to password construction. This was a very minor word change with no substantive change to the standard. The committee approves the revision, and I move to the full commission for the adoption of the proposed revision to Communication Standard 6.8.7.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Commissioner Johnson.
Mr. Chair, the next item before the committee was a proposed deletion of Communication Standard 3.2.5 relating to medical examinations. After review, the committee had determined that this standard was a duplication of standards 1.4.7 and 4.3.7, and the committee recommends then the deletion of Communication Standard 3.2.5, and I so move.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Commissioner Johnson.
Mr. Chair, the next item before the committee was a proposed revision to Communication Standard 4.3.7 relating to medical exams. This was a word addition, adding hearing and vision exams to the current medical examination standards. At this time, I would move to the full commission for the proposed adoption of the proposed revision to Communication Standard 4.3.7.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Next item was a discussion by the committee regarding standards that relate to training upon promotion. And after discussion by the committee, it was decided to revise Communication Standard 5.2.12 to mirror the language in Law Enforcement Standard 33.8.2. So at this time, I would move to the full commission the proposed draft language for Communication Standard 5.2.12 to be sent to the field for comment.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions? All in favor to send to the field say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. There were several items that were brought before the committee that require no action on the full commission, but I will share them with you here as a point of information. The first was discussion of a request to revise the Communication Standard 6.4.6 relating to encoding communications. Again, after discussion and deliberation, the committee declined any action on that request, and I share that with you here this morning as a point of information. The next item was a discussion of waiver request for law enforcement standard 84.1.6 relating to evidence audits. Again, after discussion and deliberation, the committee declined the request for a waiver and opted instead to offer that the commission and staff would continue to work with the agency for their resolution and a solution of compliance with this standard. Again, no action is required by the commission this afternoon. The next item was a discussion on law enforcement standard 1.3.11 relating to demonstrating proficiency of electronic controlled weapons. Again, after review, the committee declined the request and are taking no action on that, and no action is required by the full commission here today. That ending the items that were on our agenda, and time allowing, I did take the opportunity to call upon Commissioner Womack for a update on her law enforcement chapter review committee's work, and I want to thank Commissioner Womack for a spur-of-the-moment report and handling that for us, but she did a great job of sharing that information with those in attendance and bringing them up to date on the work of that committee and what they might expect regarding the rollout of that revision in the near future. Mr. Chair, with no other action, no other items before the committee, our committee adjourned at 8:55 a.m. And that ends my reports.
Thank you, Commissioner Johnson. Again, for the benefit of the audience, the standards are really the foundation upon which the entire accreditation process is built. And despite the brevity of the report from Standards Review and Interpretation, the members of that committee work tirelessly each and every meeting and in between to make sure that we keep our standards relevant, timely, responsive to the environment in which all of us in this business carry out our work. So having served on that committee and knowing how hard you all work, thank you to you and the full membership of your committee for all that you do.
Thank you.
Next up, we have the Awards Commission, or Committee, and I call on Commissioner Womack.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Awards Committee conducted our business electronically. We were assisted by Regional Program Manager Mark Mosier. The first item of business that we took up was the nomination for the Egon Bittner Award. The Egon Bittner Award is awarded by the CALEA Commission to CEOs of organizations who have held the position of CEO for a CALEA accredited organization for a continuous 15 years. In the form of a motion, the Awards Committee would like to nominate and approve the Egon Bittner Award for Colonel Stephen McCartney of the Warwick, Rhode Island Police Department.
It's been moved and seconded. Any questions from the commission? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay. Motion carries. Commissioner Womack.
Commissioner, Colonel McCartney will receive his Bittner Award at tomorrow night's banquet. The Awards Committee would also like to acknowledge the following 10-year Assessor Awards. If you are here, feel free to stand to be recognized. And I apologize up front for pronunciations of names. Feel free to correct my error later. 10-year Assessor Awards, Chief Thomas Bennett, Suffolk, Virginia Police Department, Chief Daniel Boring, retired, Culpeper, Virginia Police Department, Director Tamara Bulla, Howard County, Maryland Police Department, Under Sheriff Jason Casilia, Onondaga County, New York Sheriff's Office. You can help me if that was wrong. Chief Philip Crowell, Auburn, Maine Police Department, Captain David Fink, Monmouth County, New Jersey Sheriff's Office, Executive Director Thomas Flattery, Connecticut Police Officer Standards and Training Council, Deputy Chief Donald Gasparini, Winnebago, Illinois Sheriff's Office, Commander Lisa Hannon, Baltimore County, Maryland Police Department, Sergeant Scott Hymos, Grayslake, Illinois Police Department, Director David Horniak, Ohio Bureau of Criminal Identification and Investigation, Inspector Daniel Isgott, Beckerly County, South Carolina Sheriff's Office, David John Jacobs, University of Richmond, Virginia Police Department, Captain Stanley Johnson, Maryland Capitol Police, Division of something because it's abbreviated. I don't know what the division is for. I apologize. Commander Greg Jones, Lexington, Virginia Division of Police, Major Billy Lane, Hattiesburg, Mississippi Police Department, Captain Jacqueline Lukey, Ridgewood, New Jersey Police Department, Paul McCurtain, retired, St. Charles, Illinois Police Department, Major Danny Messimer, Marietta, Georgia Police Department, Deputy Chief Jason Moen, Auburn, Maine Police Department, Chief Rick Pinksaw, Emporia, Virginia Police Department, Deputy Chief Michelle Robinette, the Towson County, Oklahoma Sheriff's Office, Director Robert Schaumer, Huber Heights, Ohio Police Department, Deputy Director Barclay Stewart, Detroit, Michigan Metro Airport Police Department, and Captain David Teeter, retired, Jacksonville, North Carolina Police Department. I think given the list that we should all commend our assessors for their longevity and their commitment to CALEA. Thank you very much for your 10-year assessor awards. Mr. Chair, the Awards Committee would also like to recognize 20-year assessor awards. The 20-year assessor awards are William Howe, St. Louis County Sheriff's Office, John Letney, Apex, North Carolina Police Department, and Randy Nichols, retired, Pitt County Memorial Hospital, North Carolina Police Department.
Thank you, Commissioner Womack, and we will do a presentation pertaining to the 20-year award in new business. Do you have any further business?
That concludes our business.
Thank you, Commissioner Womack. Next up is the CASP Committee, Commissioner Purcell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. There were no agency applications to come before this committee during this conference, so we have no report.
Thank you, Commissioner Purcell. To our audience members, I would encourage you, if you know of smaller agencies or those agencies with challenging fiscal conditions who nevertheless are motivated and eager to become part of the CALEA family, please make sure they're aware of the assistance that we can offer them in applying for a waiver of fees to become part of our program. Next up is our once-a-year report from the nominating committee, which this year was chaired by Commissioner Moore. Commissioner Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The nominating committee consists of Commissioner Parkinson, Commissioner Reiterdove, and myself as chair. The committee convened on August 24th, 2015 via phone conference for the purpose of seeking nominations to serve on the 2016 Executive Board. All commissioners were contacted to gauge their interest in serving on the Executive Board. As a result, the following names were submitted for nomination. Chairperson, Commissioner Myers. Vice Chairperson, Commissioner Weber. Secretary, Commissioner Halt. Treasurer, Commissioner Parcells. I move to the full commission that we accept the names that are placed in nomination.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt the proposed slate of officers for 2016. Are there any questions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. The motion carries. Congratulations to my fellow officers, and I can assure you we will continue to humbly serve CALEA and put the best interest of the full CALEA family as our first priority. Anything further, Commissioner Moore?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The committee adjourned with no further business. Thank you.
Thank you for your work in this regard. That concludes our committee reports, and we segue now into what I sarcastically will call one of the more popular segments of our open meeting, that being the public session. I say that sarcastically because often we hear crickets during this portion of the meeting, and we would certainly welcome input and feedback from our client agencies that are in attendance. So at this point, I would open the floor. We have a microphone in the center aisle and would invite anyone from the audience to come forward and pose questions or concerns that they would like the entire commission to consider. Don't all rush at once. I don't want anyone getting hurt. Crickets. With that, I will close the public portion and call on our APCO Institute Director, Julie Ray, for a report, a presentation on our APCO CALEA training partnership program. Or is she going to come up here? Oh, okay.
Good afternoon, thank you. Am I on? Can you hear me? Now, can you hear me? All right, well, if I speak a little louder, maybe that'll help.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So, on behalf of APCO International and APCO Institute, I am here today to present a check to CALEA as we move forward with our partnership to ensure that we give our CALEA accreditation managers everything they need to be successful through the accreditation process. As to date, we've trained over 100 people, and just this year, 31. So we look forward to moving forward with this partnership and making sure they have everything they need. Okay?
So this is a check presented by APCO to the Commission on Accreditation for Law Enforcement Agencies for $5,479.50 for a shared partnership that will be put back into funds to help support agencies as they move forward in the accreditation model. Thank you, APCO.
At this time, we'll move into old business and call on Commissioner Womack for an update on the Special Committee on Law Enforcement Standards Review. Commissioner Womack.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just for a quick summary on the update of the project, and the conference in March, Chairman Myers asked me to head a task force to review the 5th edition law enforcement standards. The review was intended to focus on the current environment in which we are operating in law enforcement today, to include such information that is contained in the President's Task Force of the 21st Century Policing, various documents of those agencies that found themselves under DOJ investigation. We looked at international documents, both from our Mexican partners as well as Canadian, and a variety of different topics that came before the task force. Task force consists of commissioners such as myself, other commissioners, and I will always forget somebody by accident, Commissioners Conley, Johnson, Purcell, Middleton, and I think I've got everyone. Holt. Yes, well, that was yeah. And more. See, I always forget someone. That's why you don't have me do it on the fly. We have staff support from Director Hartley, Karen Shepard, Randy Scott, Travis Parrish, several other close staff members, as well as representatives from ICMA in the form of Commissioner Holt, IECP, PERF, who declined to participate, Noble, NSA, and I believe that's it. I've drawn a blank again. With that, we have been meeting since March with organizational planning at the headquarters at the CALEA headquarters, and then have been meeting every Friday since June on a WebEx meeting to go over the standards manual standard by standard. The work has been concluded from the actual review as of this conference to include several new proposed standards that do meet the criteria that we were outlined in our guiding principles to look at the relevancy of the standards. The goal of this was to look at each standard in terms of the relevancy in today's environment, to determine whether we needed to modify, keep, delete, or simply add additional standards in order to make sure that CALEA remain relevant to you, our client base, in the environment in which we're operating now. There are going to be some significant changes as we move forward to a 6th edition. I can tell you, for one, which would be considered good news, there is a reduction in the number of standards. There's a reduction in the quantity of the standards, but certainly not the quality of the standards. The reductions came through combining like standards, so there was not redundancy, simply deleting those that were obsolete, but we also added those that were newly relevant. At the completion of this project in January, we will meet again at the CALEA headquarters to finalize what this task force considers to be a draft of a 6th edition of law enforcement standards. That draft will then be sent to the Standards Review and Interpretation Committee, the SRIC, for vetting. That will occur at the March conference. Once the SRIC has deemed the new draft to be ready to be submitted to the field, you, our clients, will receive the entire 6th edition draft for comments from the field. Once those are received, the SRIC will again take up the review of the 6th edition draft at our July conference for consideration of moving it to the full commission. We are hopeful that we will stay on this timeline, but we are absolutely certain that once the draft is completed, you, our clients, will see the draft before it is finalized. With that, we will do an additional update in March, and if anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them further at the completion of this meeting. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Womack. I just want to reiterate a point in case it escaped you in that report. Since June, the committee has conducted 2-hour meetings every Friday. The level of commitment shown by the members of this committee to work through an entire review of the entire law enforcement program in such a short amount of time is really nothing short of remarkable. And I just can't say enough about the hard work of the commissioners who were mentioned in the report, as well as the support staff who, in between all those Friday meetings, had to often scurry to complete the research or wordsmith the changes to get them to where they are today. It will be challenging, to say the least, for SRIC to process this significant a change at our March meeting, but we're going to empower them as best we can to get that work completed so that the final product comes before the full attendance at our July meeting. But again, Commissioner Womack and the entire committee, extraordinary work, and you have the heartfelt thanks of all of us for this. Thank you. Now on to new business. You already heard the announcement of our 20-year assessor awards, and we do have one of those mentioned in attendance today. And we'd like to call forward Randy Nichols, who is retired from the Pitt County Memorial Hospital Police Department, to receive his award.
Let me take just a minute and read this. This is a said, presented to Randy Nichols in recognition and appreciation for your 20 years of service and dedication to the excellence as a CALEA assessor. On behalf of the Commission on Accreditation for Law Enforcement Agencies, November 2015. Randy, thank you so much for your service to this organization.
Also, under new business, the commission has been studying some bylaw revisions. These initially arose pertaining to the process of appointing new commissioners, but as we took a look at our bylaws, we found that they had not been updated in, I think it's fair to say, several decades. And most bylaws are living, breathing documents as we view ours, and we tasked Commissioner Kittredge to take a hard look at those. He has proposed several changes, largely cleanup, but nevertheless some addressing the substance of how new commissioners are appointed. Those proposed changes were posted for public comment on October 1st, 2015. At this point, we have had no concerns or comments returned to the commission. At this time, I would ask from the audience if there are any additional comments or concerns regarding the bylaws changes. Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve the posted bylaw changes.
Mr. Chairman, CALEA operates pursuant to those bylaws which have not been changed since 1979. I'd further add to your comments, sir, that the proposed revisions have been presented to and approved by the founding organizations, which very much remain part of the family of CALEA, and the bylaws as revised so reflect. With that, I would formally move that this commission adopt the revisions as proposed.
It's been moved and seconded. Any questions? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay. The motion carries. Commissioner Kittredge, you not only bring the level of class and dignity that only a Supreme Court justice can bring, but also legal acumen that clearly is reflected in the wonderful job you did with the bylaws, and you did it quickly, and considering how overdue we were, we greatly appreciate your efforts on this. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Next up, I turn to our Executive Director, Craig Hartley, for any comments or announcements he needs to make at this time.
Well, thank you again, Mr. Chair, for this opportunity to address this group. And today's meeting really marks the end of another full year of work by this commission. And this afternoon, you've heard about the organization's financial and budget preparation and position conducted by Commissioner Warren. And you've learned about the future conference site selections led by Commissioner Parkinson. And you've listened to Commissioner Womack present on the work of the awards committee and the leadership that she has brought to the law enforcement standards review process with support from Commissioners Middleton, Moore, Conley, Purcell, Holt, and a number of staff members. Commissioner Johnson this afternoon provided information on his committee's work regarding the development and amendment of standards across all 4 of our CALEA accreditation programs. And we have learned about the efforts provided through the diligence of Commissioner Kittredge to ensure our corporate bylaws remain contemporary and provide a business framework which allows us to meet the core objectives of our organization. But what you really haven't heard is that all this work takes place through a volunteer group of commissioners. As the executive director of this organization and on the perspective of the entire public safety community, I want to take this time to thank this commission for their contributions to this organization. It's also important to know that a tremendous focus has been placed on providing strong returns on investments for participating agencies in the CALEA accreditation process. Since we've last met, the Standards Review Committee has dedicated over 200 hours of service to ensuring the law enforcement standards remain recognized as the contemporary best practices in the industry. The final development and testing phases of the new web-based assessment reporting tool have taken place. Staff and commissioners have participated in certificate presentations, accreditation coalition meetings, national conferences, and other professional associations. 4 new commissioners have been appointed. The process guide has been amended to reflect our new 4-year cycle, and to prove that we're human, we actually published our personnel manual instead of the new process guide, but we're working on amending that as we sit in this audience today. Chief executive officers have participated as members of the Executive Director Regional Advisory Board, and yes, 114 agencies have been reviewed and are ready for presentation to this commission during this conference. As you can tell, this organization takes its responsibilities seriously in regards to providing services in this public safety community, and we work hard to ensure that the accreditation process is value added. We know through experience that this process of accreditations makes organizations better and serves to demonstrate an agency's commitment to doing the right thing in the communities which they serve. Now, today in the audience, as they're waiting for commissioners to finish this meeting, there's some folks that need to meet with the commissioners following this meeting. So just as a quick announcement, this is an invitation meeting only, but those that need to meet with commissioners this afternoon, Committee A will meet in Gardenia A, Committee B will meet in Gardenia B, Committee C will meet in Hibiscus B, Committee D will meet in Tuttle South, and Committee E will meet in Tuttle Center. Again, these meetings are by invitation only and are really designed to provide an opportunity for commissioners to learn specific details about the issues facing some of the agencies that will be presented during this conference. At this conference, too, I have to make a special note that we have 4 commissioners that will be retiring from this commission. And although they will be honored at the banquet tomorrow night, a special note for those individuals' service today as well. Commissioner Gary Margolis will be retiring from the commission. Commissioner Eddie Talon will be retiring from the commission. Commissioner Dan Parkinson and Commissioner Gary Cordner will be retiring from the commission following this conference. It's important to know that collectively they have given 30 years of service to this commission, and for that we are all grateful, and we wish you well in the future opportunities that lie ahead for you. And finally, while I have a chance, I want to recognize the hard work that staff has done over this past year. Your efforts have sincerely made all the difference, and your work is appreciated by this commission and those that you provide service to as well. I encourage each of you attending today's meetings to share your ideas with us as we continue to grow. We appreciate the feedback that we receive, and we look forward to working with you further in 2016. For me, CALEA accreditation matters, and we value your involvement with us. So thank you again for joining us today, and please enjoy the remainder of your conference here in Miami, Florida. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Director Hartley. You know, when I joined the commission 7 years ago, I didn't and could not fully understand the range of emotions at the end of each year when some of the commissioners retire and leave the commission. After this great experience that I've been privileged to have, I have a full understanding of how difficult it is for us to say goodbye to our hardworking colleagues and friends. It also, however, offers us an opportunity to celebrate the addition of new commissioners. And I just want to take a moment today to introduce to the audience 3 of our 4 incoming commissioners. First, we have Commissioner-elect Barry Roundtree, who's the police chief in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. We have Commissioner-elect Marlon Lynch, whose titles I can't remember other than he's a vice president and chief at the University of Chicago. And we have Cynthia Armour Coyne, who is a senator for the state of Rhode Island, has also been a locally elected official and a retiree from the Rhode Island State Police. We welcome them into our family. We hope they found this orientation conference helpful, and we're not going to not miss our colleagues, but at the same time, we welcome you joining us. I'd also like to express our appreciation to the City of Miami Police Department, who has hosted this conference. We'll get to thank them a little better tomorrow night, but I hope you all have experienced what I have, just over-the-top hospitality and accommodations, and that sure makes our work easier as a commission. I must also take a moment simply to ask Director Hartley and all the staff members of CALEA to please stand. Most of you know that the true work gets done by these career professionals who carry out the vision of the commission and turn it into the daily work of the commission. And CALEA wouldn't be where it was were it not for these people. Please join me in thanking them. And as I move to close this meeting, I just again want to express my deep appreciation for my colleagues on the commission. Every year you do this more, you realize what a unique privilege it is to serve with this group of professionals. Tireless, humble, well, almost everyone humble, but seriously, that was supposed to be a joke. It's an amazing experience to have a group of people come together from diverse communities, agencies, career fields, all around a singular vision and purpose to provide a process, the accreditation process, designed to raise the bar on our industry. What can be more rewarding than that? So sincere thanks to the full commission. We encourage all of you to attend not only the hearings tomorrow, whether your agency is up for review or not, and we certainly hope to see you tomorrow night at the celebration banquet. With that, I hereby adjourn the open meeting of the full commission. Thank you.